Hey there everyone, welcome back to the Default Agent channel. My name is Tom Day. Today I am going to be doing one video in a series of videos that I call REO 101. I'm going to be walking you through all of the tasks that you're going to be doing as an REO agent. I'm going to walk you through the first day of your first REO assignment, and the first task that you are going to get is the occupancy check. Now, I got my start in real estate in 2006, and what was happening in 2006? Well, the market was topping out. I don't know how you feel about today's market, but if we're not in the top right now, it kind of feels like we're headed towards one. And if you're watching this video, I got the feeling that you're concerned about where your career might be in 1, 2, 3 years down the road. And I think that's fantastic. I know that if I hadn't learned how to get REO listings back then, that my career would not have lasted as long as it has. Now, I learned how to do this all by myself, and I made mistakes along the way for sure. But I've learned from those mistakes, and now I'm here to share all that I've learned with you. Why am I doing this? Well, I want to connect with other hardworking agents that want to learn the REO niche, and I also want to attract agents to my organization. If you want to learn more about that, I'd be happy to have a discussion with you sometime. There's a link in the description of this video where you can schedule a call with me. All right, let's get on with the lesson. You're going to get your first assignment by email or a message on one of the platforms like Equator or ResNet or Pyramid, one of those. Now, when you get that email, you will get the option of either accepting or declining that REO assignment. It's not a listing yet, it's just an assignment. There are several tasks you're going to have to get through before you get that actual listing. So the email you're going to receive is going to outline the commission structure, any fees and policies, and will also tell you about all the team members. You may be dealing with more than just an asset manager. There could be an assistant asset manager, an eviction specialist, a pre-marketing specialist. Alternately, you may have an assignment letter that you have to execute and return to the asset manager. Now, each lender and asset manager do things a lot differently, so be sure that you read this email that you get very, very carefully before you proceed. On day one, you're probably going to get two tasks. One is the occupancy check, and the other is the initial BPO. What you're going to do is you're going to grab your camera, you're going to head out to the property, and the first thing you want to think about is your own safety. You may want to bring along an associate with you. I've pretty much mostly done these by myself, these occupancy checks, but there's been more than one occasion where I wish I had brought somebody along with me. So keep that in mind. You should go during daylight hours. You might want to do a little research on the property, check the tax rolls. That'll tell you whether it's an absentee owner or an owner occupant. If it's an absentee owner, of course, you can probably expect it to be tenant occupied. And if it's not an absentee owner, then maybe you want to Google this person's name or maybe check their socials. Maybe learn a little bit about who you might have to be dealing with before you get to the property. Among your research, you can also check on the utilities. I had good luck just calling up the power company and saying, hey, my name's Tom Day. I'm a realtor that just got a foreclosure listing at this address, and most likely I'm going to be putting it into my name very soon. Can you tell me if there's currently service at this property? And most likely they will tell you, although that could vary from state to state. I never had a problem with it here in Florida. When you get out to the property, do not pull into the driveway of the home. It might be a good idea to park around the corner or up the street somewhere and walk a little ways to the property. You'll want to be mindful of no trespassing signs. If you see no trespassing signs, stay off the property. If there is a gate that's locked and you can't get to the front door, take some photos of that and report back to your asset manager. Don't go and jump over the gate and be a hero. Now, you're probably going to encounter neighbors as you approach the property wanting to know what the hell you're up to. It's okay to talk to these folks. Sometimes they can be very helpful. You don't want to tell them anything about the foreclosure action that's going on. All they really need to know is that you're a realtor and you want to talk to whoever's living there. So your first interaction with whoever's occupying the home, if anybody's occupying the home, is going to set the tone for how this all plays out. So be mindful of that. Don't come in like a wrecking ball. Go up and softly knock on the door or ring the doorbell. Don't be too pushy. Try to show some empathy. You know, you are there to help. You're going to help them transition out of this property in one way or another. If they're cooperative, that's great. Get some information out of them, whether they're the borrower or the tenant, and if they're the tenants, whether they have a current valid lease, and if they do, see if you can get a copy of it somehow. You'll want to know how many adults are living in the property. Try to get all their names and contact information. You're going to need this later. It'll make it much easier if you can get it right then. And you know, if they're uncooperative or belligerent or worse, just say, sorry to take up your time and leave. And report back to your asset manager that it didn't go very well. Now, if nobody answers the door, what I generally do is I leave my card in between the door and the door jamb above the lock. I don't really expect anybody to give me a call, but when I do go back to the property, I can at least tell whether anybody has been in or out of the door. Some agents might put a little bit of Scotch tape on the top or the bottom of the door. I'm not that stealthy. I'd like people to know that I've been there and I'm not some kind of a secret agent or anything. I do have business with them, so I just leave my card. Now, once you've visited the property the first time, you're going to report back to the asset manager what happened, if you did make contact. You're going to report that on the platform that you're using, whether it's Equator or ResNet or one of the others. You'll be asked, is the property occupied? And if it's occupied, you're going to say yes, and it will ask you a series of other questions pertaining to it. Each task generally creates another task for you on these platforms. If you're not sure what I'm talking about on these platforms, I talk about them on some of my other videos, like how to get REO listings from the banks. Check that one out. It talks about all the different platforms. Now, in your conversations with the occupants, make sure you don't give any legal advice or anything that could be construed as legal advice. I do suggest that you learn and know the Protecting Tenants in Foreclosure Act. You can find that. There's a link in the description where you can find that document. All right, so you came upon a vacant property when you went to do your occupancy check. Now what? Well, you saved yourself a few steps. That's great. That makes the process a little bit easier. Two things here. It's either secured or it's unsecured. If it's unsecured, you can walk right in and see what's going on. Use some caution. You never know if there's going to be squatters in the property. And if it is unsecured, one of the first things you want to do is make sure that the asset manager is aware that this property is unsecured. It may need an immediate visit from a locksmith. If it needs more than that, say windows and doors are broken and they needed to be boarded up, we need to get people out there as quickly as possible to make sure that the property is secure. When you find yourself in a vacant property, most likely there's going to be some kind of debris, trash, personal property left behind. Keep in mind that one man's trash is another man's personal property. And I did a lot more personal property evictions than I did evicting actual people. If there is more than $500 worth of personal property in a foreclosed home, you may have to go through a personal property eviction. That all depends on the state and local laws. If it's valued at less than $500 at garage sale value, then it's considered, then it can be generally removed without any trouble. Be sure you take pictures of everything, every room, all the belongings that you come across. Be sure to take special note of any kind of computer devices or smartphones or tablets, that kind of thing. Those devices can contain personal, private information. So what's next? After you've done your occupancy check, like I said, you're going to go back and report everything that you saw. The next steps are going to depend on whether the property is occupied or not. If the property is occupied, then in most cases you're going to be offering the occupants, whether the tenant or the former owner, some kind of relocation assistance. We call that cash for keys. If it is vacant, then you can begin the pre-marketing process. And of course, my next videos are going to be covering those subjects. So please subscribe to my channel. If you are interested in learning more about my organization and working with me, I would invite you to schedule a call with me. There's a link in the description of this video. And again, please do subscribe. Hit that like button. I really appreciate it. My name is Tom Day, and you're watching the Default Channel.